and welcome back to So God Told You to Write a Book, Now What? I'm your host, Wendy Jo Cerna, and we are jumping into the new year with the second half of Season 2. I hope you've enjoyed the interviews with the authors in the first 9 episodes in this season. Wow, what a treasure trove of wisdom, experience, and practical tips. But don't turn off those listening ears just yet. There's more to come in the months ahead. So hop on board for the second half of Season 2 of So God Told You to Write a Book, Now What? I'm convinced you're going to find exactly what you need to help you obey the call of God on your life to create the book He has given you to create. Hey, if the author and finisher of all things told you to write a book, He believes that you can. And so do I. So come on. Let's write. Hello, authors, and welcome back to So God Told You to Write a Book, Now What? We are in episode 14 of Season 2, and today I have with me Angela Ruth Strong, who's coming to us from around the Boise, Idaho area. She is an author, currently a flight attendant, a mother, and a breast cancer survivor, among other things. So we have a lot of ground to cover today, but welcome to the show, Angela.
Thank you. Can I add that I'm a grandmother now?
Oh, look at you. Well, congratulations. Wow.
Thank you.
When did that happen?
Last November. So he's 3 months old now, and I get to watch him on Mondays.
Oh, so he lives in your area too?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you don't fly anywhere on Mondays.
Right. I have my Mondays off.
Okay, beautiful. Well, congratulations. That's wonderful. You're adding to your resume.
Yeah.
I love that. So you have written a variety of different books. I've looked on your website, which is a lovely website. But so Angela Ruth has written contemporary romance. It looks like cozy mysteries,
Mm-hmm.
suspense, and also some children's books.
Yeah, middle grade. So fun.
Middle grade. Okay. So can you take me back? Where did this writing journey start for you?
Well, I always loved writing. I studied journalism in college.
Okay.
Actually, my first article I ever sold was in high school. I was a cheerleader, and a basketball player dove out of bounds for a ball and knocked me into the bleachers, and I broke 4 ribs.
Oh, no.
I know, but I ended up going to compete in state anyway, and I wrote about it, and it ended up in American Cheerleader magazine. They paid me $100. And at the age of 16, that was like the easiest money I'd ever made. So I decided to be a writer, but it hasn't been that easy since.
Right. Well, 4 broken ribs, that was a lot to pay, a high price to pay. So that's where it started.
So then I went to college for journalism, and I started my family young. So I would take my kids to story time at the library. And I wrote for some magazines like Hopscotch. I wrote children's stories for them.
Yeah.
And then as they grew up, I started writing more for myself. And the first book I sold is Finding Love in Sun Valley.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if you remember this series, but they were set all across the country and different authors were writing them. And I just kind of got sucked into that.
Okay.
So I sold it on proposal. I sold it on 3 chapters, which never happens, especially now. You don't sell a book, your very first book, on 3 chapters. But after I sold it, my first husband left me. And so I had to write a romance novel as my marriage fell apart, which was not fun.
No.
And so after that, I was like, I'm not writing romance anymore. So I ended up writing, for the kids. And I had a lot of fun with that. And then when I met Mr. Strong, I was like, love changes lives. There's nothing else I'd rather write about. So that's kind of my journey there.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, that's a lot. So the first book that you actually published, was that the middle grade?
Nope, it was this one.
It was that one.
Yeah.
Okay. So what year was that?
This came out in 2010, and it was a part of the Summerside Press collection. So they were in hardbacks and book clubs and Costco. A lot of them got made into movies. This one was actually optioned for film. And again, like, I had no control over that. That wasn't anything I did. I felt like it was a gift from God saying, you can do this. You can do this. Yeah. I probably wasn't even ready, for my first book to sell my first book. It was a big learning experience, and I appreciated that. It was a gift from God.
Yeah. So that was through a traditional publishing house, or how? Okay.
Yes. Yeah, they're
Okay.
not around anymore. They started before ebooks took off. And so their business plan included Walmart and Borders.
Mm-hmm.
And when Borders shut down and Walmart started limiting how many books they had, Summerside just wasn't making the money they were. So they ended up selling to Guidepost, which ended up shutting them down.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
The book industry is an ever-changing world these days. Sometimes good, sometimes
it
not so
is.
good. But then you wound
Yeah.
up writing a number of other books in that same series, The Finding Love
Hmm.
in Eureka, California, in Big Sky, Montana, and Park City, Utah, in Seaside, Oregon. All of those are yours, a separate series from that original one. Is that true?
Yeah, so what happened with that is I saw that some of the Love Finds You books were being made into movies. And I
Yeah.
was at that time, because I quit writing romance and the publisher shut down and I parted ways with my agent, I really had no connection to that book anymore. But I started seeing that some of them were being made into movies and I wondered, would that ever happen to mine? And
Yeah.
so I Googled, and that's when I found an article saying that my book had been optioned for film. I didn't even know.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, my agent didn't even know, my old agent, but I reached out to her and she's like, let me see if I can find out what's going on. Meanwhile, like I'm all naive. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm excited.
Yes.
And so I'm going around telling everybody my book's being made into a movie, though I don't know anything.
Yeah.
And so at a publishing conference, I ran into Marilee Farrell. Do you know her?
I do not. Uh-uh.
She lives in the Northwest, which is why I thought you might know her.
Yeah.
So what happened is the producer and the director who were making the Love Finds You movies, they split. And the director wanted to keep making the Love Finds You movies, but the old producer had the rights to them. So they reached
Ah.
out to Marilee, who also wrote the Love Finds You line, and they said, if you can get your rights back and re-release it as Finding Love in, we
Ah.
can make your books into movies. And so she ended up starting a whole publishing company with that premise. And she invited me to join. And
Okay.
so she helped me get my rights back to Sun Valley. And then and then she published my Resort to Love collection. And so I wrote Finding Love in Big Sky with the idea that this production company might make it into a movie, and they did. So that was pretty
Wow.
cool.
That's exciting. And
I
you got to
know.
be an extra in the film. Is this true?
Yes, I did. That was like a dream come true. They filmed in Montana, which
Yeah.
is close enough for my husband and I to drive up there. And it was like right after COVID. So at first they said only I could go on set.
Mm.
And I said, well, what if I was like, well, do you need extras? And they did. So I said, what if my husband and I were extras and they happened to be filming the cowboy ball scene, which was just like perfect for a romance writer. I get to dress up
Yeah.
and dance in my
Yeah.
movie. And it was just such a great experience. The cast and crew all treated me like a VIP. And I have author friends who've had this experience, but I don't think theirs has been as good as mine.
Mm.
Everybody was just amazing. And I even asked the director, I said, is the cast always this great? And she said, no, you got very
Mm.
lucky. So it was just a thrill to be a part of it. And it was such a good experience. I'm trying to learn to write screenplays now.
Oh, yeah. That's a whole nother art form. I know my
Yes.
friend Nova McBee is high on that and has a whole group here in the Seattle area who's writing screenplays and doing quite well, from what I hear. But another art form completely.
Yes. I'm still learning.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, good for you.
Thank
So
you.
that's quite a first experience to have as a writer.
Oh, I know. I don't know that I can ever top it.
It's amazing. So is that movie still available somewhere?
Yes, it's on Prime, Amazon Prime. You can
Oh, it's
watch
on
it.
Prime. Okay, I'll have
Mhm.
to watch it.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
fun. But most recently, so I got connected with you through Northwest Christian Writers Association, and you're going to be at our conference in May, true?
Yes, I think I'll also be there in April. I'm teaching just the one day, and then I'm teaching at the conference again.
Yes. So we have you, I think, as our guest speaker on whatever the first Monday in April is. So we'll get to see you
Hmm.
then, and we'll get to see you in May. Do you know what your workshops you're teaching at the conference?
Yeah, so when I'm the guest speaker, I'll be speaking on how your story matters. And then
Uh-huh.
when I'm teaching, I believe I'm teaching on strong endings.
Ah, excellent. Good. Well, I'm trying to get some of you who are presenting at the conference on this on my podcast so people can get like a preview of coming attractions and sign up and come. It's a 1 day conference, but it's full to the
That's
brim
great.
of
Yeah.
wonderful things. Yeah. So you are currently writing a new book, or it's already written, called Claire Holloway is Winging It. And there it is. I've read it. It's quite charming. And it is a romance, but it's set as a flight attendant. Gee, where did this come from?
Yeah, it's set at a crash pad in Seattle, which are you in Seattle or do you live in that
In
area?
Bellevue. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Yeah, so I became a flight attendant and it was part of a midlife crisis I had after I told you I'm a grandma now. So after all
Yeah.
my kids left the
Right.
house and you said I survived breast cancer. So after I survived breast cancer and after I had my book made into a movie, I was like, that's my dream come true. But after each of those, I was like, now what?
Yeah.
Um, so I became a flight attendant. They based me in Seattle and there was 10 of us living in a 2-bedroom crash pad.
Wow.
And there are so many crazy stories that don't happen in any other situation in the world, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's like airline industry is its own thing. And there's just so many stories and I wanted to tell them. And also I've heard that like something that makes a story memorable is when it has its own world building. And because I
Yeah.
write contemporary romance, it's usually just like our world. It's not a
Yeah.
unique world.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so this was an opportunity for me to like build a world that I could share with my
Yeah.
readers.
Yeah. And it's very fun. And I enjoyed that you were in the Seattle area. I could see it in my mind's eye very clearly. But that is through this is through Kriegel Publishing. Is that who you're working with?
Yes.
Is this a new relationship for you? Or have you previously published with them?
So I had another series called the Love Off Script series, and the first one was called Husband Auditions. And so I had the idea for that. It's been a few years. It was based on, I don't know if you ever saw it, but it was a list that went viral from a 1950s McCall magazine
Hmm.
on ways to find a husband.
Oh, okay.
And so I thought, what if a modern day woman tried those out? And so that was what Husband Auditions was. And yeah, I had interest from a few publishers and I ended up going with Kriegel and it became a 3-book deal. And I'm working on the screenplay for Husband Auditions because it's just so fun.
Yeah.
And then I did a trilogy, a Christmas collection with a couple other authors. So this is my 4th book with Kriegel.
Okay. So are any of your books independently published, or have you always gone through a traditional publishing?
I prefer traditional because I love words of affirmation. That's my love language. And to have them like take my hand and lead me along the way. And also I'm not very good at the business money side.
Yeah.
I'm kind of winging it like Claire. But I have done some independent. I did a group, like I got invited into the suspense collection, but
Yeah.
it's not online anymore. But they knew what they were doing in the
Yeah.
world of independent publishing. So again, I just got like sucked into that. And that was a great experience as well. We actually ended up getting a bonus from Amazon, which I didn't even know was a thing
Nice.
because it sold so well. Yeah.
Yeah. Very
And
nice.
I have tried putting them out on my own, but I don't have that knowledge that they had.
Yeah.
So it's just been more for fun. Like if you sign up for my newsletter at
Yeah.
angelaruthstrong.com, you will get a free download of The Princess and the PI, which I just give to readers for free. But they started asking where can I like review this? So then I
Yeah.
went ahead and just put it on Amazon.
Okay.
Not really to sell it, but just so people could review it after they got it for free. So yeah, I'm not good at the business side, but I have fun with it.
Yeah. So where did you find your agent? You said you initially had an agent, but you now are with a different agent. How did you find this agent?
So the very first conference I went to was at Oregon Christian Writers, and I'd written
Okay.
my first book, which I took and pitched to a publisher and an agent. And they got turned down. And I was like, oh no, I'm never going to be a writer.
Yes.
But at that conference, I met an editor from Kriegel, actually, who I'm with now. And they requested it. And I sent it to them and they requested changes, which I made. And because I had interest from a publisher, I had a friend who recommended me to her agent friend. And so they picked me up
Okay.
as an author, though Kriegel ended up not buying that book. So it was
Oh,
years later when I ended up with Kriegel. But
Yeah.
having that connections, like making those connections at
Yeah.
conferences like we're going to do in Seattle here in
Yeah.
May is a great way to go.
Yeah. A lot of connections get made at conferences. I'm finding that out. I haven't been to many, but I just signed up to go to the Realm Makers conference in St. Louis. I'm looking
I
forward
haven't
to that
been,
one.
but I've heard really good things.
Yeah, it looks pretty epic. So I have friends going, so I might as well check that one out. It looks really great. So I looked at some of your blog posts, which you have on your website, and read through
Mhm.
some of those things. And I saw some interesting things about like the editing process, even with your current book. So you're working through a publishing house, but
Mhm.
to walk me through the process of what that looks like. You submit to them a first draft, or how does that work?
Well, so my very first book that they picked up was Husband Auditions. I'd met the editor for that at a conference as well. And so this is like going back to when I was going through my breast cancer journey. The
Mm.
day that I was ringing the bell for complete, she just happened to get onto Facebook. It was a live video on Facebook,
Yeah.
and she happened to get on like right when I was ringing the bell.
Oh
And
my
she
goodness.
knew that they were going to offer me a book deal. I didn't know yet, but she said she like saw me ringing the bell and she just cried and she's like, she's got good things coming.
Wow. What a day.
Yeah. Oh, so editing. I was like, what were we
Yes.
talking about? So she picked it up and then she did a developmental edit where she
Okay.
went through and was like, okay, we need to change this, we need to do this. So big picture type
Yeah.
stuff. I don't think there was a lot with that. So they had my whole manuscript for that one.
Yeah.
Since then, they've just had proposals.
Mm.
Um, and so there's been more changes that I have to make in the developmental edit because they don't have
Mhm.
the whole story to begin with. And they're like,
Yeah.
Angela, you kind of went off the hills over here. So they help me like hone it. And
Yeah.
then it goes to line edits. And I have a
Hmm.
great line editor who will also be at the conference in May.
Oh,
So you'll
good.
get to meet the story. And she'll go through, and they are so specific to things that I would never even think of. And I did go to journalism school where we did have to take a grammar test. I
Yeah.
think it's the only journalism school in America where you have to pass a grammar test. Um,
Imagine
but
that.
I know, but there's different styles of grammar. And so
Yes,
I
there
may be
is.
doing it right, but I'm not doing it how they want it.
Mm.
So things like that, even with capitalizing the I is winging it, I was like, do we capitalize that? Things that I would think that you don't, but you actually do.
Mm.
So she's very knowledgeable in all that stuff. Or like, hey, Angel's eye color changed from blue to brown, stuff like
Right.
that.
Right.
So that's my line edits. And then it
Is
goes,
it Dory Harrell? Is that who you worked with?
yeah, yeah. Do you know
Yeah.
her?
Yes, she
Okay.
edited my last book. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah, isn't she great?
she's great. Yes.
Did you
Very
change anybody's
knowledgeable.
did you change anybody's eye color?
Not that I know of, but we had a few other issues. She's
Good for
very
you.
good at catching all that. Yes.
Yes. So it's content edit, line edit, then it goes to proofreaders.
Yeah.
And so a bunch of proofreaders. And then with this book, like I
Yeah.
even thought I was done with edits and they came back. Like it was ready to go to print pretty much. And they're like, Angela, we have this other issue we want you to change. So that
Hmm.
was unexpected.
Yeah.
You just never know.
Yeah. So I saw in your blog post that so this is a Christian publishing house out of, is it Michigan? Kriegel? And that they wanted some of the content changed in ways that weren't super comfortable to you. I mean, so working out what do they want? What do you want? How do we meet in the middle? And I saw one of your quotes. You says, I didn't know what I wanted to write, but I did know what I didn't want to write. What did you not want to write?
I need to go back and read my own blog.
Yeah, it
I
was
will.
something about the spiritual content of it,
Okay.
or
Yeah.
yeah,
So in this book, because I have my Christian readers, which is who they sell to,
yeah,
but I also have my independent friends who are going to be reading it. And I didn't want it to come across as preachy or judgmental.
okay,
So that was really tricky. And I'm like, how do I do that? And what I ended up doing is like taking airline analogies and comparing it to healthy relationships and a relationship with God so that it made sense. So I'm not just saying this is what you need to believe ABC.
Yeah.
I'm explaining why and how my airline friends can connect with it. Hopefully.
Yeah, because that's a very diverse crowd. Your colleagues
Mhm.
is
Yeah.
not necessarily the Kriegel publishing demographics that they're used to.
Right.
Yeah. So making it accessible to them in a way that, okay, it's fun. It is a very fun book. It does give you insight into the airline industry. Obviously, you know that world, but it also has a strong message to it that is Christ honoring and also and about, what is love actually all about?
Yeah,
So,
so I'll just go ahead and share the message. So I'd sent the book before I ever even tied it together spiritually because I wasn't sure how to. So after I submitted the book and they're going through it and they're like, okay, this is a fun story. What's the spiritual message? And that's when I heard the line, it's better to lose them than harm them. An example, airlines industry would be if there's a passenger who's drunk on the plane. You don't want to lose them as a customer. You want them to get where they're going, but it's not safe to have them on a plane when they could do something that could harm other passengers or harm themselves. And you don't know, like, especially with the altitude, that can affect somebody who's intoxicated differently.
mhm,
So it's dangerous. And so it's better to lose them off the plane than to create a situation that could ultimately cause harm. And so with that, I was able to use that in her relationship
yeah,
and with understanding a relationship with God.
yeah. And you do that beautifully in a way it isn't preachy, but it is real, that the struggles are real. Of course, it comes out beautifully in the end, which we all love.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Why we read romance novels, right?
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So I saw some of your, I think it maybe was in the same blog post that you were talking about in just even in the Word of God, how the Bible is very messy, full of messy relationships, that it is very real, true to true to humanity's core, that it's not pretty. And you had some colleagues who are not believers who said, why would Christians be willing to have that be their book? Why all the mess? And what was your answer to that?
So when you say that, I'm thinking more of a friend who is from Iran. And with
Mm,
everything going on in Iran right now, I've just
yeah.
been thinking about her a lot lately. So she came from a Muslim background,
Okay.
and that's their stance on it is like the Bible is messy, whereas their perspective, as the way she explained it, they wanted everything to be pure and clean and
Mm,
neat. And so she says that's what's beautiful about the Bible. It's not like perfecting anything. It's saying, yeah, even the best of us fall short. And
yeah.
that's what I love about it too, because okay, so there are some Christian novels out there that I am not a good enough person to be a main character in.
Hmm.
And some people need that. Some
Right.
people want that,
Yeah.
but I don't.
Yeah.
And so my stories are going to get a little messy.
Yeah. Well, because we are messy, right? I mean, that's been my life experience as well. And you also had some great quotes that you written down from some really great authors about that mess. Brandon Sanderson wrote, "Your story should not tell readers what to think, but give them something to think about." Or the darker
Hmm.
your black moment, the more powerful your story of overcoming. It must seem like the other side is going to win. How do you reach that point in your books? Like are you a planner, a plotter, or are you a pantser? What's your writing style like?
It varies, but to
Okay.
reach that point,
Yeah.
I usually have to write myself in a corner and not know how I'm going to get out of it,
Okay.
and really have to wrestle through the story and wrestle with what I believe to be able to find
Mm,
an answer. A lot of times I don't know. So I'm discovering along with my characters.
okay. So does that mean you have to just set things aside for a while and get with the Lord, or what does wrestling look like?
Sometimes,
Yeah.
yeah, or I send the book in when I haven't figured it out yet, and they're like, "Hey, Angela, figure this out."
We can't publish it like this. Yeah.
Yeah, but in my own life, and I feel like a book isn't just about the characters, it's about connecting with the reader. And
Yeah.
so if a character is going through something, it should bring up something in the reader. Like even if they've never been a flight attendant, they're going to relate to that in some way.
Yeah.
That's where I want to get with my books. It's not just about the story, it's about the reader's story. And so I bring experience from my own life. And in talking about the Black moment and feeling like
Yeah.
the other side is going to win, well, when I was going through my divorce, as I mentioned before, like everything was going wrong. And then I got a flat tire or my car, I was on the side of the road for whatever reason. And I'm like, really?
Yeah.
But then I think, the darker the Black moment, the more powerful the story of overcoming. And I was like shaking my fist at heaven, like, I want you. You're giving me a really powerful story of overcoming, and it sucks.
Yeah.
In that moment.
Yeah.
So just in creating those moments, creating something that the readers can relate to.
Yeah. I was talking to, I think it was Kim Vandal, and she's written a YA series that's really good. But I think between the second and third books, she had sort of some really difficult life circumstance happening. And so there was a lot of years in between. So I was asking about those in between years and the things that were happening. And they were hard things. But she said on the other side of it, her writing took on like book three has a new depth to it
Mm-hmm.
because of what she'd just walked through. So I imagine I have not been through breast cancer, but I imagine walking through that, a life-threatening situation, difficult circumstances, that you had to develop some deep wells. Do you write? Do you find yourself writing from those places that you had to go to in those circumstances?
Yeah, all the time. My husband just went through open heart surgery, and so I
Oh,
suggested,
my.
yeah, he's doing good. He's doing
Okay,
good.
good.
But I suggested a heart disease story to my agent who I'm meeting with after you. And she's like, Angela, it might be a little soon for that. Like,
Right.
that might be traumatic for you.
Yes. Give it a break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, the older you get, and that's the cool thing about being a writer is, I mean, if you're a runner or a model, like you lose the ability to do those things over time. As a writer, we just have more and more and more depth to offer.
That's true. That's a good way to look at it. I didn't even start writing until I was in my mid 50s. So I had a lot of life experience to draw from. How,
Yeah, a lot of people don't start
yeah.
till later.
Well, I also didn't have like the time and energy and space to do it prior to then and didn't know I wanted to
Yeah.
do it prior to then. So yeah, that is a beauty of being a writer. One of my favorite authors, do you know who Jan Karan is? She writes the Mitford series. I started reading it years and years, and she's in her mid 80s, maybe upper 80s now, still putting out books. She just put out a new one recently.
It's amazing.
Yeah, but she's walked through some very difficult life circumstances, and her
Yeah.
characters they have a depth to them that are very sweet. I love reading her stuff. What else? Let me look at my list of questions. Sometimes I get so caught up in just finding out who
Yeah.
you are. I forget why I'm doing this.
Well, I can share something that means a lot
Yeah.
to me in this story.
Yes.
And I feel readers are pretty split. Romance readers are pretty split on whether they like love triangles or hate love triangles.
Yes. I've heard that.
And I do not like love triangles myself. And this story kind of has a love triangle in it, but I think of it as an anti-love triangle or a
Okay.
reverse love triangle because it's about having feelings for someone when it's not appropriate to pursue that.
Hmm.
And he wants to do it anyway. He wants to pursue it anyway, but then he has to think from his own life. And he'd been cheated on. So he's like, in the past. So he's like, I'm not going to do this. And so he supports her in her relationship and he uses his own failed experience to encourage her in finding success. And I think that's a lot different from your traditional love triangle. And I wrote that because I don't like love triangles.
Ah.
And so when I got a bad review about it being a love triangle, I was like, no.
It's not
and
that.
then and then Perry she is a reviewer for Writing is My Superpower, and she mentioned how much she hates love triangleness. And so she wanted to read my book, and I warned her. I was like, Carrie, it's not a love triangle. It's like an anti-love triangle. And she's like, well, Angela, you're writing it, so I'm going to love it, whatever it is. So
Oh,
that was very sweet of her to say. But I want to put that out there. If you are considering avoiding this book because you hate love triangles, I think you might appreciate what I have to say.
yeah, because it does come at it from a different perspective of actually like what's actually best for the other person instead of just me sort of selfishly yanking them in the direction that I would prefer. Yeah, I love that
Yeah,
about it.
it's better to lose them than harm them.
Yeah. So when you're writing, do you how do you come up with your stories? Do you hear from the Lord? Do you have just things pop into your head? How do you get to the inception of a book?
Um, I don't remember how I got the idea for this one, except just living in a crash pad with roommates and wanting to throw all of that together and make it a romance. But the next book, so I'm writing book two, or I finished writing book two, and it's Angel's story. So you met
Right.
Angel.
Yes, yes.
Um, and I was like, my readers told me they wanted international travel. So this one's not international. It's more just in the United States, maybe some Canada and Mexico. I can't remember. So overseas flying. And so I had to take my character Angel and make her an international flight. I made that another flight attendant actually shared with me. So this comes from real life. Her goal is to visit before she turns 30.
How many countries?
And 30
Excellent.
before she's 30.
30 before 30. Okay.
Yeah. And so that became the whole premise of the novel. And then when I started, I had where she was going to go, and she's already been to 15. So that made it a little more manageable. But
Yeah.
as I'm plotting the 15 countries and the timeline and where she's going to be and when she's going to be there, and I had to research like what is there to do there? What are the festivals? So much of it was about God,
Hmm.
about religious beliefs. And as I started to explore them, things that I'd never knew or learned about, and how when you get these different amazing cultures that you love and they all have different beliefs about God, how do you rectify that?
Hmm.
How do you just arrogantly say, oh, mine's right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So it became a spiritual journey. And so that's where that idea came from. And
Okay.
again, I had to grow through that. I'm like, I don't know. I
Right.
don't know how you rectify that. So it was very thought provoking for me. And I haven't heard back from my editor yet. So we'll see how I did.
Well, I look forward to that because that's a very real not problem, challenge to walk through, especially when you're traveling abroad and you get exposed to these cultures and new ways, new
Right.
thoughts, new ways of life. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
new views of God. Yeah, that's a real challenge. So what's your biggest obstacle when you're writing? Do you have like one thing that you have to push through every time, or is it just new with every story?
Some books are easier than others. Usually in the
Okay.
middle, I get stuck and my husband gets worried and concerned. And he's like, "You don't like your book?" And I'm like, "Honey, I do this every time. I'm not gonna like it in the middle, but I'll like it later."
Haha.
So and it's hard for different reasons. And this one that I just finished about the international travel, that was hard because I haven't been to 30 countries yet.
Hmm.
Um, I'm hoping to rectify that. But I had to do a lot of research, which is not my strength. And I had to do a lot of description, which is also not my strength.
Hmm.
So I think hopefully I grew a lot through this story. But those were the two things that tripped me up with this one. In the past, so my Finding Love in Big Sky book that was set on a ranch, that's the one that's became the movie. I didn't know anything about horses. And so I
Okay.
was about halfway into the book and I had writer's block and I was like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. And so I ended up calling a friend who's actually became a flight attendant too, but at the time she had a ranch. And I was like, can I come over and play with your horses?
Yeah.
And she gave me a tour that just like inspired so many ideas. And so
Hmm.
sometimes I just have to get into that location. I feel like getting into that location really just brings things alive for me.
Yeah. That's a really great idea because then you're smelling and touching and
Mhm.
feeling the vibe and seeing that's a great idea. Get yourself into that space. Hard to do when you're doing fantasy, but there's
Yeah.
you might want to question if you
Is
get
that
into
what you
that.
write? You write
Um,
fantasy?
I they call it Christian fantasy, but it is a I just write books that have both an earthly perspective and a heavenly perspective. So, and the last one was like a perspective out of hell, so demonic perspective.
Oh,
Yeah, so sometimes I don't think it's so much Christian fantasy as it actually just is Christian real life if we actually could see what was going on,
yeah.
in the spiritual realm. So that's where Amazon shoves it into that category, but I don't write, typical what you would could think of as fantasy. So
Hmm.
I have a hard time pegging my genre.
More like supernatural. Is it like
Yeah,
Frank Peretti?
more like Frank Peretti.
Okay.
Yeah, William Paul Young, those guys, just
Hmm.
expanding on what we already know from the Bible. Not doing super extra biblical stuff, but also because I walked through some devastating sorrows and griefs and had to go into some heavenly places just to survive. Because I needed to, it's like, oh, okay, I've always believed in heaven. But then I'm
Hmm.
like, Lord, I have got to know because I'm having a hard time thinking why you would take these precious young people. So he
Hmm.
walked me through the valley of the shadow of death through a heavenly route. So then when I started writing
Beautiful.
that's what came out of me was, okay, I don't know exactly what it looks like, but this is what the Lord has showed me, and this is what has brought me comfort. And so it's brought comfort to others as I write. Yeah.
It sounds thought-provoking too.
Well, yes, I have wrestled with the Lord about this one. Like, could I just write rom-com? Could I really like to write your stuff. I like to write a cozy mystery. And he's like, yeah, go ahead, but it's not what comes out of you. So I don't know, maybe one day I'll have freedom to do that. But he literally told me, I think it was about a year ago when I was wrestling with some of this in the midst of writing this last book, which was it's a little darker and harder because I'm exposing the demonic
Oh
and was
yeah.
not exactly what I don't know. It wasn't exactly fun sometimes, although sometimes it was hilariously fun, but the Lord is good that way. But he said to me, well, Wendy Joe, you are a provocative storyteller.
Mm.
And I didn't like that word, provocative, because it brought up things that I didn't. He said, well, look it up. So I looked it up, and actually it means to just stir someone towards action. And like, okay, that's exactly why I write books is to actually stir people, expand their minds, and push them maybe towards the edge of what they think is possible. So that's more, yeah, I get to be a little edgy. And Dory, when she edited this last book, she said, ooh, this is kind of edgy.
I love that. That's great.
Yeah. But,
And there's
readers
people
need all
who
time.
want that.
Yes,
Yeah, people who want that, and they're not going to read the rom-coms. They're
right.
looking for exactly what you're writing.
I know. But, sometimes we always want to be who we're not. And
Oh yeah.
yeah. So do you have so most of your marketing gets done by your publishing house, but they also like I friends that I have at NCWA traditionally published, they get like assignments or place things to do from what are some of your best have been your most effective marketing tools?
So my publisher sets me up on different online tours, which is great. I have so many with this book that I'm getting them mixed up. I'm like, I don't
Okay.
know which one's going now, but I appreciate that they also put somebody in charge of that so I can
Yes.
be scatterbrained. But some of the best promotional things I've done have actually been with indie authors. Like they know marketing. And so I've gotten invited into different contests where we all put books in and money in towards an Amazon gift card. And then they have to sign up for all our newsletters or something like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So in one competition, one of those, I got 20,000 newsletter subscribers.
What the?
So things that I've just stumbled upon accidentally.
Yeah.
I like to think I'm intentional, but I'm usually just intentionally heading the wrong direction. And then I trip and fall into really cool opportunities like that.
Yeah. I know I just interviewed Steve Raza and he was saying that about the time he figures out marketing that it changes.
Oh,
So
yeah.
but but you just kind of keep swinging away. And when opportunities
Right.
arise, oh, try that. If it works, great. If not, we won't do that again. But that's amazing. 20,000 email subscribers.
Yeah, and then so I also started a TikTok, which is more about my travels as a flight attendant, just because I have fun like sharing those stories.
Yeah.
And I had one video went viral. I think it had 4.1 million views on it,
Yeah.
and a ex subscriber shared it and got another 9 million views. And
Wow.
then I got contacted by BBC who wanted to write an article about it and see if they could sell it to different outlets. And they said I'd get paid a percentage. And I was like, okay. I was hoping they'd call me an author. They called me a TikToker.
Oh,
But
yes.
so it was shared in the New York Post, and then I actually ended up getting a check that paid for my Mother of the Bride dress. And I was like,
Oh,
this was unexpected. But so just trial and error and
yeah.
have fun with it. I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah. Find out where your sweet spot is and keep doing
Hmm.
that. That's
Yeah.
really good. Do you have scriptures that you go back to when you need encouragement in the writing process? Because writing is, it's a journey,
Yeah.
there are real struggles in it. Do you? And I know some people have like life verses. I don't necessarily have that, but do you have any scriptures that you go back to? And
Yeah. There was one actually I, I was praying about writing a certain or pursuing a certain story.
yeah,
And I asked my agent to pray, and I went to a writer's retreat with my writing group, and I asked them all to pray. And my very last day in the shower, I was praying about it, and I felt like God said, I have an answer for you in scripture. I
mm,
was like, oh. So I got out and I just randomly opened the Bible. And the very first verse I read is Psalm 102:18.
which
And
she
it
has
said,
tattooed on her wrist. She just
on
showed
my
me. Yes,
writing hand, my writing
yes,
hand. It says, let it be written for a future generation that a people not yet created may praise the Lord.
yeah.
And I closed my Bible and I was like, that did not happen. And I pushed it away and I was like, I'm not telling anybody about this. And then I started shaking. And so then I was like, okay, I have to tell my writing group. So I told them and they were just looking at me like I was nuts, but also they were excited for me.
Yeah, I love that.
And so my book, Finding Love in Big Sky, I had a friend who the book just meant a lot to her. And there was a phrase in it that meant a lot to her that she wanted to get tattooed on her body. And I said, can I go with you when you get that tattoo? I mean, like to have somebody get a tattoo that's
Yeah.
inspired by one of your books. And so when I was there, I was like, well, I've been thinking about getting this tattoo. And so I went ahead and did it. And working in the airlines, it used to be a rule that you couldn't have a visible tattoo. So I used to wear my watch over my right wrist, even though I'm
Yeah.
right-handed. But now the rule is it has to be smaller than your badge. Your badge has to be able to cover it, and that's allowed. So I get questions about it on airlines all the time.
I'm sure you do. But that's a
Yeah.
beautiful, it speaks of the longevity of writing.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, years ago, I don't know, I was reading through the Gospels and I got through the list of all the disciples. And I'm like, Lord, how come we don't know half these guys? Like three-quarters of these guys. We don't know who they are. Their names, we know they were walking with you very closely for 3 years, but why don't we know them? Why don't we know their stories? And he very quickly said, well, because they didn't write it down. And I thought, well, that's a shame. I would have liked to had
Yeah.
a few more gospels. We have Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Thank God that we have all
Yeah.
those, different POVs, if you would, about the same things most of the time. But that when you don't write it down, things do just disappear and slip through the fingers of time, I guess.
Yeah. Well, what is that scripture that says if all of the things that Jesus did were written down, what it is it said it would like go
Would
around the world or something
Yeah,
crazy like
said all
that.
the books in the world could not contain it.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
Which is pretty amazing to
It
think
is
about.
very amazing. Yeah. So the privilege of writing things down that remain is remarkable. My mom was a poet, published poet, worked on it for a lot of years, loved it. And so she has some books that were published and so to read those, she passed away a year and a half ago, but to read them now, it's like her voice, there it is again. Like I just have to
Mm.
pick it up and there's her voice again. And it's still influencing me, it's influencing my kids and grandkids, that because she wrote it down, we still
Yeah.
have that. It's amazing. So can you tell me that scripture again? Say it aloud.
Let it be written for a future generation that a people not yet created may praise the Lord.
That's beautiful.
And that also takes the baggage of like trying to be successful off my shoulders
Hmm.
because my words could go on beyond my life. I might never see,
Right.
who it's affected or how it's affected it. And so it's not just about getting good reviews or going viral on TikTok.
Right. Yeah, yeah. Right. Playing the game of the social media and all that stuff that you feel like you have to do in order to feel like, oh, you've been seen and heard. Well, you don't know
Right.
that having that trust. I'm going to look that verse up, study that a little bit. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we need to wind things up a little bit. So let me just remind our audience, your new book, Claire Holloway is Winging It, comes out when?
It comes out March 17th, which is St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, that's right. St. Patrick's Day. There you go. And that will be available anywhere books are sold,
Hopefully.
hopefully.
Yeah.
Have you done any of your books with Audible audio versions?
Yeah, I got to meet a narrator at the Christie Awards. She
Okay.
narrated our book, and so that was really cool. And I took little. So our book was called "We Three Kings," and there's three of us who wrote like billionaire romances set on gold, frankincense, and myrrh throughout
Hmm.
generations. So it's
Okay.
three generations of the Wise or the Weiss family clan, which means
Okay.
wise. And so I took crowns for us to wear at the Christie Awards. And so I met our audiobook narrator there, and I got a picture with her wearing a crown too, which is really fun. I have another narrator for this latest, I think she is Claire, but she also did one of my last books. Her name is Emmy Faye.
Mm-hmm.
And I follow her on social media, and she just got nominated for a Audible. So
Oh,
like I
that's
saw
great.
pictures of her in this gorgeous dress, and I'm like, that's really cool. But I also have a local friend here who does reading. So she read one of my self-published books, and she
Yeah.
did such a fantastic job with it.
Yeah, that's great because you do reach a whole different demographic with audiobooks. I'm a fan, so I might have to look up some of your audiobooks. It's just a great way
What's
to,
fun?
yeah.
Yeah, what I was going to say is what's fun about because my story is written in first person and a
Yes,
male point of view and a female point of view, and so they have the dual narrators. They have a
that's
guy and
great.
a girl. Yeah.
That's great. That'll be good. Very wonderful. So I appreciate you coming on today in your busy schedule, flying here or there. But also, I'm
Thank you
looking
so
forward to having
much.
you in Seattle. So you'll be there the first Monday of April at NCWA, our regular monthly meeting, but you'll also be there in May for our all-day conference. So I invite readers,
Yes.
yeah, if you haven't yet signed up for the conference, there's still some space available. It's only like $150 for a day full of wonderful people like Angela and Steve. I think Dory Harrell will be there as well. Lots of wonderful people are going to be there. And you're just going to get, like drinking from a fire hose, actually, but you'll get wet for sure. You'll get something on you and something in you. So, yeah, any last tidbits of advice or things you wanted to tell us, Angela, before we sign off?
Well, I look forward to meeting you in person. Thank you so much for having me. And again, I would just encourage your listeners to come to that conference or any conference
Yeah.
because just getting to know people is really the part of their journey that matters because their writing is part of their own life story. And
Hmm.
to have other writers to share that with is priceless.
Yeah. So many of the authors I talked to, things changed for them at a conference because
Yeah.
of because of who they interacted with. I love
Yeah, we
that.
also have here in Idaho, I started Idaho Writers, Idaho
Yeah.
Christian Writers. And so if anybody's in the Idaho area, I'm looking up the date for that real quick when
Okay.
there's a lot of great people who are going to be coming to that. I think yeah, it's April 11th. So I'll be speaking at your group on the 6th, and then I'll be here for Idaho Writers on April 11th.
And that's in Boise,
Yes, yes.
and that's a one-day conference as well.
It's one day, and we have some pretty awesome authors flying in for that. Do you know Jill Williamson?
I don't.
She writes fantasy type things. So you might
Okay.
really appreciate her. And then Janet McHenry does nonfiction.
Yes, I've met her at a conference.
Okay, yeah. So
Yeah.
she'll be here as well. And I forget who else. Lots of people.
Wonderful. So you helped to start that whole Idaho, which is very cute, clever, Idaho Christian writers for people
Yes.
just in the Idaho Christian writing community.
Yeah, because I got so much from Oregon Christian writers. And then when I moved
Yes.
to Idaho, I went to one group and I heard Robin Lee Hatcher speak. She was the first person I ever heard speak here. She actually lives around the corner from me now.
Ah,
But it dissolved and I really missed that. And I wanted to create what they had in Oregon or what they have in Washington here. And so it's been pretty cool. I've met so many amazing people.
yeah, it's so great to have a local group. We just had our group last night and it was a full house last night. I think recovery from COVID is finally happening. But we also have a really strong online community too. So equal numbers online and in person. But to have that connection is really, it's super helpful in
For
so many
sure.
ways. So look that up if you're in the Idaho area, Ida Hope Christian Writers
Hmm.
Association. And they have a website for that, true?
Yes.
All right. Angela, thank you so much. I'm just speaking blessings over Claire Holloway is winging
Oh,
it and all
thank you.
and you have a whole series of these coming, I hope, the winging it,
At least two.
at least two. Excellent. All right, my friend. Well, thank you so much for your time. And to our listeners, as always, I really love and appreciate you so much. Thanks for listening. I hope you grabbed something today that's useful to you, inspiring to you in your own journey of writing. Blessings and peace. Shalom, shalom.